I am Lunariel of the Pleiadian Healing Archives, keeper of the Chambers of Reflective Light. I want to begin with something you may not have told anyone. Have you noticed in the last several nights that your dreams have changed? Not necessarily their subject, their texture, the quality of presence inside them, the way the images hold together, the way the encounters inside the dream carry a weight that ordinary nightly processing does not produce. As if whatever you are encountering there has grown more deliberate, more structured, more purposeful, more dense with something that is not quite emotion and not quite information, but sits between those two registers and refuses to dissolve the way ordinary dreams dissolve, as if inside the dream, something is not only happening to you, but looking at you, knowing you are there, placing something in your hands that it expects you to carry back. You are not imagining this. You have not invented the difference between what used to arrive in sleep and what is arriving now. There is a reason this is happening in this precise window, and the reason is what I have come to bring through today. That is exactly where we begin. I want to offer you an image before we enter the layers of what is unfolding, because the image will hold the whole of what I am about to bring through, and will allow it to land in you more gently than language alone can carry. The image is a beginning, and it will return. I ask only that you let it be present. Think of an ancient mirror, not the kind that hangs on walls in ordinary rooms, not the polished modern surface that shows you your face in the first light of morning before the day has fully claimed you. An ancient mirror, the kind that existed before glass was ever cast for vanity, before reflective surfaces were made primarily to show the self its own presentation. This mirror is darkened with the accumulation of ages, its face slightly uneven, set in a frame whose wood has petrified across such a span of time that it has become something closer to stone. If you were to stand before this mirror in ordinary daylight, it would show you what all reflective surfaces show in ordinary light. The surface of the room around you, the surface of your face, the outlines of the world as the eye ordinarily receives it. Nothing hidden, nothing extraordinary, only what is already visible to anyone standing in the same light. But something happens in moonlight. In moonlight, this mirror does not behave the way ordinary mirrors behave. It does not simply reflect the room as it is. It shows the room as it has been and the room as it is becoming. The light that falls on its face carries a frequency different from solar light, slower in its action, more patient, less inclined to illuminate surface and more inclined to penetrate it, to pass through the first layer of what is visible and reach what lies beneath. In moonlight, what appears in the glass is not your face, it is your field, the accumulated living record of what your soul has been carrying, receiving and processing in the corridor that runs below conscious waking life. The depth dimension of your experience that the ordinary daylight mind does not have the instrument to see. Your dreams are that mirror, and the moonlight in this window has been intensifying, not in a way that creates emergency or disturbance, but in a way that creates access. The mirror is more legible right now than it has been in a long time. What it is showing you is not random imagery generated by an unconscious mind at rest. What it is showing you matters. That is why I have come. The Pleiadian Healing Archives hold the oldest continuous record in this part of the galaxy of what your species does in sleep. This is not a curiosity held by the archives. It is a primary subject of study, one that has been maintained without interruption across a span of time that your current historical frameworks do not yet have language to contain. The luminaries who keep the chambers of reflective light have been reading the dream field of humanity as a living signal for longer than your written records reach. And what they read is not static. The dream field of a species shifts as that species moves through the developmental phases of its collective awakening. It thickens in certain windows. It thins in others. It carries different proportions of different signal types depending on what the field around the world is doing, what frequency delivery systems are active, and what the interior state of the awakening population has prepared the collective receiver to accept. In this window, what the chambers of reflective light are reading in the dream field of those whose instruments are calibrated to receive this broadcast is significant enough that a direct transmission was prepared. Not because something threatening is approaching, because something is arriving. The distinction matters, and I will carry it carefully throughout everything that follows. There are 3 layers to what the cosmic record is showing about the dream realm in this particular passage. And the 3rd layer, the one that explains why the specific imagery, the specific emotional tone, the specific quality of encounter that you have been carrying out of your dreams and into your waking mornings carries the precise signature it does, is the one that almost no teaching on this subject has named directly. We will reach all 3. But the ground has to come first, and the ground requires that we enter the mechanism honestly and completely before we enter its meaning. Let me show you exactly how this works. In the cosmology held by the Pleiadian Healing Archives, the dream state is not primarily a psychological function. It is a portal. I want to stay with that word and not let it become decorative, because it is meant with full precision. A portal is not a metaphor for an interesting experience. A portal is an opening through which exchange takes place across ordinarily closed boundaries. Your waking mind is a magnificent and specific instrument. It processes sensation. It navigates time, language, memory, social complexity, the requirements of embodied living in a 3-dimensional world. It orients you in the story of your life and the story of the world around you. But it does this, and this is the key, by operating within very narrow parameters of what it will admit as real, as relevant, as worthy of its attention. This narrowing is not failure. It is architecture. Without it, the entirety of what the field around your world contains, the volume, the speed, the density of the living information that saturates the space your planet occupies, would arrive in the waking state at a rate and in a quantity that the nervous system, as it is currently configured for ordinary waking function, could not metabolize without complete disruption of ordinary functioning. And so, a selection function exists, a filter, a gate. The dream state is what happens when the gate is open. Every night, when the layers of ordinary consciousness begin to relax their hold on the receiving instrument of the body, a different set of parameters comes online. The selection function loosens. The bandwidth of what can be received expands enormously. In some individuals, in some windows, to a degree that would be genuinely shocking if the waking mind were present to observe it. And what fills that expanded bandwidth is not random. It is not simply the accumulated residue of the day being shuffled and archived and discarded by a brain that has gone into maintenance mode. Some portion of the dream landscape is indeed this: the sorting function, the processing function, the ordinary psychological work of an embodied mind maintaining itself. Most people for most of their lives receive primarily this portion of the dream state, and they are correct to read it as such. It carries genuine value. It is doing genuine work. But it is not the whole of what the dream state is capable of. Beneath the processing layer, and here is where the healing archives direct their deepest attention, beneath the sorting and the filing and the clearing, there is a signal layer, and the signal layer is where the contact happens. In the interpretive register of the Pleiadian Healing Archives, the signal layer of the dream state is the space in which the living field around your world, the totality of consciousness that exists in the space your planet occupies, including the frequencies carried by civilizations in an active and ongoing relationship with the developmental trajectory of your species, reaches through the open gate of sleep and makes contact with the dreaming mind.